And now I say hello, and I'm zooming down just a few hundred meters into town, into Cape Town. I say hello to Monica Yule, who is the new, brand new, sparkling new, and she looks new as well, Chief Marketing Officer of Wesgrow. Hello, Monica.
Hello, Niels. Thank you for inviting me on this platform today.
Absolute pleasure. Thanks for agreeing to do this. Now, Wesgrow, I'm very familiar with. Many of our local viewers will be familiar with, but the international ones wouldn't really know. What is Wesgrow?
Thanks, Niels. So Wesgrow is the tourism, trade and investment promotion agency of the Western Cape province. And in that way, we are quite uniquely constituted, quite different to the other provincial destination marketing organizations, in that we don't only promote the Western Cape province as a tourism destination, but also as a conference and business events destination, but also we promote investment into the province. We have a partnership into Cape Town Air Access, and we have a big export and trade team that also promotes exports and trade between the Western Cape and the rest of the world. So as a chief marketing officer, if I can just expand on that. So the chief marketing officer role at Wesgrow looks after the DMO. So we look after the leisure and the business events promotion, but I also look after all of the promotional efforts across the entire Wesgrow agency. So essentially, I always say my role is sort of a place marketing job. So leisure tourism, business tourism, but also, you know, why is the Western Cape a beautiful place to invest in, and why are the products that are created in the Western Cape fantastic opportunities for export and trade?
Well, if you need answers to that, you can always ask me. I can tell you that. I mean, having lived here for the last 30 years and drinking lots of wine and enjoying other facilities, you know, we certainly love living here. Monica, sustainability, responsible tourism. I mean, those terms have been thrown about for a while. I had the pleasure of interviewing a few people on that subject, and I thought maybe somebody in your position would be a good person to ask. What does it mean to somebody like yourselves? You know, is it important? Is it something that you just put on your marketing material, or how do you deal with it?
Yeah, we definitely put it on our marketing material. So I think sustainability and responsible tourism are prominent considerations because consumers are demanding them more and more, that their companies care beyond just revenue in how they operate. Particularly in the post-COVID world, protecting health, societal interests of the planet have become substantially more important in consumer mindsets in order to build back better, which is probably something that you've seen come through quite a few channels.
Build back better is a good one.
Build back better, exactly. So with this comes a demand to reshape the world in a more sustainable way, right? That's a lot of the narrative that we're seeing on the consumer side. The pre-pandemic challenge of climate change has shifted to more urgent social responsibilities because, as you know, the pandemic has struck and the impacts of lockdowns, particularly in South Africa, but across the world, caring about society and the impact that tourism has on society has become a much stronger focus for us. And therefore, you know, particularly in South Africa, you'll know better than anyone, or in most countries, I suppose, around the world, tourism is an apex industry. So we always talk very much about, you know, the direct employment in the sector, the direct contribution to GDP, that it is one of the biggest exports of the country. But it bears remembering that there are, you know, it's the lady that sells the vetkoek at the corner of the street. It's the taxi driver that shuttles the staff of the Featherbed Reserve home after a dinner service. It's all of those different people that have been impacted by tourism. And that is the story that we need to tell, is how tourism actually impacts on and is beneficial to a very, very wide and broad range of the population.
Yeah, that trickle down effect, of course, you know. Now, the Western Cape is one of the most diverse natural environments that we have on the planet, and we're very fortunate to live here. Again, in your marketing destination, and not just for tourism, as you said yourself, you know, but also for people to set up shop here and you know, trade from here and so forth. How does it reflect in the way you market the destination?
So as you say, we've got wide open spaces in abundance in the Western Cape and some of the most scenically beautiful places in the country, and may I say the world. And obviously we've always leveraged that, but now more than ever, we are focusing on demonstrating how safely and with how much social distancing and with how much scenic beauty you can experience the Western Cape. And I don't know if you're aware, and I'm hoping perhaps at the end of this conversation, you'd be able to play the video of the international campaign that Wespro has just launched, which we call the Never Ending Tourist, of whom you are one, actually, Niels. So it tells the story of, in this particular case now, some Dutch and some German tourists that came to the Western Cape and fell in love with the province to such a degree that they decided to stay. And so we tell in the first person the reasons why they love living in the Western Cape and why they chose to make a holiday destination into the place where they wanted to live and raise their children, and the experiences that they like to do. So whether it's braaiing in the outdoors, or mountain biking, or going for a hike, or surfing, or encountering the locals, whatever it is, we allow them to tell the story whilst showcasing them in beautiful, wide open spaces with lots of scenic beauty.
Responsible tourism, and in fact, I spoke last week, I think it was a few weeks ago, to Harold Goodwin, who works also in responsible tourism, and he was saying that sustainable tourism is a notion and responsible tourism is a practice. Now, many people still think that practicing responsible tourism is a cost. It comes at a cost, and they say, do I do it? Do I not do it? Does it really benefit me? Does it translate into business? And then they might not realize the financial benefit or the reputational, because they could save money by having responsible practices, but they can also brag about it and say to people, look, we're doing this because it's the right thing to do. And people say, well, that's the people that I want to stay with. These are the people I want to book my tour with, or whatever it might be. How do you encourage local product and product owners to engage more in those practices, to make it really happen where it matters? Because I think we need to move away, and I would never say that you would have supported in the past, but we need to really call out those greenwashers and really get down to the matter of it, where it really makes a difference.
So I think there's two things, and I think certainly the hoteliers and the hotel marketing companies that I've spoken to recently actually have confirmed that to me. I think COVID has, the impact of travel bans, let's now also be quite specific, the impact of travel bans has meant that a lot of tourism businesses and a lot of hoteliers have had to get really creative in how they can support their workforce, how they can support the communities around their game reserves and so forth, as an example. And so I think now more than ever, hoteliers actually have a very clear understanding of the contribution that a fully operational accommodation provider, tour operator, safari guide operator, whatever it might be, has already got to the community. So I think there's a much deeper understanding already around the fact that just purely operating in a particular space, in a particular part of the country, actually contributes and does good for the community. So I think one needs to differentiate a little bit there. I don't think that it's really about now changing your entire hotel to recycle all of your water and to, use your grey water for your gardens and, only use a certain kind of pesticide for your wine farm or whatever it is. I think it doesn't have to be that expensive. I think it's really about understanding where you actually already are doing good by simply operating and by being a business that grows and expands. So I think that's the one thing. The second thing that's really important, and that's why for me it's almost at a human level, the ability to storytell around where your business has an impact. Some of the game lodges do it really effectively already, but I think if we're honest with ourselves, most operators can now say, this is where, because we feel the absence of it now, this is where what I do does good, and this is how what I do does good. And if we can just deepen that conversation, you don't have to go with the most expensive laundromat operator for your to wash your bedding just because they're down the road and you're supporting the community. But if you can identify the areas in which your operation supports the community, supports an economic sector, supports whatever it is, then I think that's already a big win. And that's really the stories that people want to know. They want to know, if I come and stay with you, if I book my tour with you, how does that do good? How does my coming actually improve someone's life?
Yeah, no, people want to make a difference for sure, and I think it's great that more and more people think that way, because also in destinations like our own, we need it. The need is so big, and as you said, as we are in these travel bans and refocus on domestic tourism, like we have never done before, like we haven't done for a very long time, because we were very blessed with a lot of international success. This of course comes a lot more to the fore. Now, let's hope that many people will listen to it, that you and I can, push, and that many other players in the industry can do so, because, as I said before, I think the greenwashing aspect needs to fall away. It needs to be something that really is felt and lived, because we also, we owe it to our children, we owe it to people who share the planet with us, to make it one that will last. Monica, I wish we could talk much longer. We need to pick up this conversation again. I wish you well in your endeavors when you re-emerge, or help us as a destination to re-emerge from this horrible crisis that we still find ourselves in. Let's hope that it will be much faster now, with vaccinations moving along in our source markets and also here. Obviously never fast enough, nowhere fast enough, but that I think will help us to come out of it. Wish you very well. Thank you very much, Monica Ewell, and we'll chat soon.
Thank you very much. Thank you.